Hi, so my name is Catherine. I'm a science communicator and journalist. I'm from Ireland, but working here in Brussels in Belgium, and have started this series just to kind of talk to scientists about different ways of communicating their research and maybe giving some tips about, from our perspective, what works. But feel free to leave comments and tell me about your perspective and different things that can work. So I thought we would start off today with maybe doing some three main basics for science communications. And something for every type of science communication that you need is that you need to know your goal and you need to know your mission. Why are you writing this press release? Why are you writing this article? Why are you making this video, this blog post, etc.? You need to know why, because you need to know what you wanted to achieve. So, for example, for a press release, it's usually very simple. Normally, your goal is to provide information to journalists, and hopefully, those journalists will write a story about your research based on the press release. If you're talking about something like a blog post, it can be a little bit more personal. But again, you need to decide, are you there to educate people, or are you trying to just inform them that this is happening, but maybe not teach them about what's going on? Example, if you're maybe trying to approach a policymaker to have them base a new policy on your research, this could be another goal of your communications material. So there's a wide variety, and you really need to identify at the very beginning, before you go any further, what exactly you want your communications material to achieve. On social media, it can be just getting the public more aware about the research that you're doing and getting more engagement. And another good example is research grants. Very often you are trying to apply for funding. So this is also, in a way, you communicating your science. So this would also be a target. This is another form of communication that scientists have to do. And so in this case, that will be your goal. Your goal is to get funding based on your communications material. And then we move on to the next part. So number 2 is to know your target audience. And this is extremely important, because when you're speaking to your peers, when you're speaking to colleagues, other scientists who are involved in your field of research, obviously you have a kind of a similar language, you use jargon the same way as every industry does. And yeah, you have a kind of a language that is all your own. So if you're talking to other scientists or people who are experts in the field, you can absolutely use this language. Of course you can. They can understand you. But if your target audience is different, if your target audience is policymakers, is journalists, is members of the public, that's when you have to tone that down. That's when you have to try to translate your findings into normal people's common language, let's say. And that's where it can get challenging. So it's really important that whatever communications material you are producing, you know who you're aiming it at. And if you're in doubt about how much they know about your subject, a good rule of thumb is always to assume that they know less. Because if they know less, you're not going to lose them. If they know more, it's fine. They're experts and they're good. But if they know less than your article is, then you have lost them quite a bit. And finally, coming to the third most important thing, is for any communications material you do, you need to know, which you do know of course, but you need to be able to explain your results very shortly. You need to be able to explain your results maybe in 2 lines max, and then the impact. So you also need to be able to illustrate very concisely the impact that your results have. So for most, say, press releases or articles or something like this, you should probably mention the results in the very first 3 lines. So, for example, many articles will have, let's say, a little paragraph at the top which would explain the results and also explain the impact. So here is where you really need to be concise and work on this and find out what is the simplest way and the fastest way that I can accurately explain my results and the impact that my results will have. And when you're looking at the impact that your results will have, it's more powerful if you look at the impact that it will have on general people. So for example, in health science, this is usually very easy. You can usually translate up from any discovery. You can say, well, this will help in finding a cure for this disease, or this will help in improving quality of life for people with this disease, or something like this. For other things, it can be a bit more difficult, but usually there will be some way that it can impact on the daily lives of people. And if there is, and if they can see that in the very beginning of your article or your post or whatever, then it's going straight to them, and it's going to influence them and impact on them pretty much immediately. And that's kind of what you're going for, really. So yeah, try to make the impact as close to the average person as you can. Because at the end of the day, this is a thing that we all have in common. We are all people. So if you can bring it down to the personal level, you're going to engage everybody and not leave out people. So those are my 3 tips for the day. I hope you liked the video, and I hope you will tune in next week. So have a really good week.